Good morning and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Friday, June 14th, 2019.
Commissioner Garcia, Cabello, Davis, and Caloza are present. Vice President Cabello, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introduction, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Chiman Gong for the Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Victor Tercios, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Michael Simpson, LA San.
Good morning, Alan Calgucci, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Kimberly Fitzpatrick, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Vice President Cabello, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comments section. No speaker cards were received on any of the items for today's agenda.
Hearing no speaker cards on general public comment, let's go ahead and close public comment and close the Neighborhood Council of Commentary Council as well. That takes us to our first item of business, approval of the minutes for the meeting of Monday, May 6th, 2019. Is there a second to my motion to approve meeting minutes? That would be seconded by Commissioner Davis. Without objection, those minutes are approved and we'll send them forthwith. First item on the agenda, item number 1 in Council District 11, change order number 21 and budget increase, Vadnaeus Trenchless Services, Inc., doing business as VTS, recommending the board authorize $6,600,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $999,938,417 for the Venice Dual Force Main and Generator Replacement Project, and 2, authorize the city engineer to issue change order number 21 for this project to construct the south end realignment. Are there any speaker cards on this item, Dr. Campos?
No, there isn't.
Okay. Mr. Tolles.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Tolles. I'm with the Bureau of Engineering Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. This report is a follow-up to a board report that was previously approved on April 5th of 2019, where BOE requested approval to procure jacking pipe associated with the realignment of the southern end of the Venice Dual Force Main project. The report before you is requesting authorization of $6.6 million in additional contingency and also authority to issue change order number 21 for the complete scope of this south end realignment on the Venice project. So a little background, on January 18th of 2017, the Board of Public Works awarded this contract to Vadnaeus Trenchless Services for approximately $88.9 million with a contingency of $4.4 million. The original approved construction budget total was $93.3 million. This report the request is to increase the budget to approximately $99.9 million. The project is located in Council District 11 in the Marina del Rey area, and the scope is to construct a 54-inch diameter force main sewer that extends approximately 10,392 feet. It starts at the Venice pumping plant and terminates on Vista Del Mar approximately 240 feet south of the Waterview Street. If you look on figure 1 of page 2 on the report, you'll see the complete alignment of the force main sewer. Just to highlight the significance of this project, it was originally constructed in 1959 and has been continuously operated for the last 60 years without redundancy or inspection. So when this project is completed, the old system will be able to be taken offline, inspected, and completely rehabbed. So failure of the existing force main would result in significant environmental impacts along the Santa Monica Bay communities. This specific change order was initiated by Council District 11 in an attempt to reduce traffic impacts along Vista Del Mar from Culver Boulevard to Waterview Street. The design change is going to result in 3 lanes of traffic during construction as opposed to 2 lanes of traffic during construction. So the current street configuration is 4 lanes, 2 in each direction. So in order to accomplish this, what we did is we changed approximately 1,000 feet of open cut installation and removed ground treatment requirements and converted it to a 2-pass micro-tunneling installation, which is essentially a hose pipe followed by a carrier pipe and then grouted in between. So this modification not only reduced the traffic impact, but it also reduced the construction activity on Vista Del Mar by several months. A traffic study was completed for this change and incorporated into the environmental impact report. It was also circulated for public comment and adopted by the California Coastal Commission in November of 2018. There's no impact to the general fund as a result of this change. The project is funded through the Wastewater System Commercial Paper and Construction Fund, and I'm here today to answer any questions you may have regarding this request or the project.
Commissioner Davis.
Mr. Tolles, is there a project labor agreement on this project in terms of getting some of our labor folks involved in terms of construction on this project?
There is a project labor agreement on the project. It's about 20% of the total work hours are to be performed by apprentices. 10% of the total work hours are to be performed by disadvantaged workers residing in Tier 1 or Tier 2 zip codes. And 30% of the total work hours are to be performed by local residents within a Tier 1 zip code. So those are the requirements when we awarded this project.
So that'll be basically a total of around 60% of individuals collectively that were involved, that will be involved in the construction of the project in order that we can create those amount of percentage of jobs for
As a result of the PLA agreement, yes.
In terms of the scope of the project, as far as time is concerned, how long do we anticipate the duration of this project to be?
The anticipated completion right now is August of 2020. The original completion date was February, end of February 2020, so it is a few months behind as of right now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Vice President. My question is, would this contingency be able to fulfill the end of this work, or do you anticipate coming back for any additional changes?
So this budget that we're asking for is paying for the south end realignment change. Without this change, if you were to look at the contingency that we have now, we're about 50% expended, and our project is about 55% complete. So we're tracking along with completion in our contingency pretty well outside of this change that we're requesting today.
Thank you.
So I think so, to answer your question.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Any further questions on this item? Hearing none, is there a second to my motion to adopt item 5 forthwith? Seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Without objection, item 5 will be adopted and sent forthwith. I'm sorry, item 1 for the record. Item number 5, we will be continuing to Friday, June 21st, 2019. Let's go to item number 6, authority for expenditure. Ozone Clean Technologies, Inc., Bureau of Sanitation and Office of Accounting requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $45,000 to pay for a pilot program in which sanitation will utilize the services of the contractor Ozone Clean Technologies for cleanup and disinfection services utilizing ozonation in Skid Row for 6 weeks, 24 field days. The city shall pay to the vendor an amount not to exceed $90,000. This authority for expenditure will provide half of the funding and is being supplied through the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund. Funding is being requested by Sanitation's Livability Services Division and being provided by Bureau of Sanitation's Clean Water North Collection Division. Mr. Garcia, welcome.
Good morning. This item was heard on Monday. This is just it's 2 different funding sources to kind of explain why it's back on your docket. It's just a approval for what was approved on Monday to go forward with this program to test the ozone component and the sanitizing of the Skid Row area as we do the cleanups with minimal environmental impact. So, do you have any other questions? Or?
Commissioner Davis.
Just to refresh my understanding here is that this is a part of a proposal that we approved on Monday, but it comes from 2 different sources in terms of the funding.
Correct.
But we will be doing ozone all over the place.
Yeah.
We're funding 2 parts of it, but the same.
It's the same. It's the same testing program that we're going to be doing with this company and this particular ozone amenity to the cleaning effort. Again, it's just 2 different funding sources to make sure that we have enough to get the program started and start the testing process.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any further questions? Seeing none, is there a second to my motion to adopt this item forthwith? Seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Davis.
Thank you
Without
very much.
objection, the item is adopted forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Let's go to item number 7. Item number 7 in Council Districts 2 and 5. Specifications submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise the invitation of bids for the street lighting conduit only project Unit 6 high voltage conversion fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of $2,340,950. Bid receipt date is July 31st, 2019. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you very much. For the record, Arnold Sachs. Gonna have to do some dancing here. Is this part of the, would this be part of a street lighting hearing for the public? Because you have public notices for street lighting districts, and this is a street lighting conduit only voltage is it any particular council district, or is this throughout the city? It's very interesting to find out about these little minutia details. I know you're jumping around with the council, with the cards, trying to out-hustle me, and I got to move a little faster. But based on the hearings that you had last week about street lighting public hearings, when you didn't have anybody from the public here, I'm just curious to know, what would this cost the public, and what budget account would this come from? Will this come from the general account? Will this come from DWP? Will it even come from Southern California Edison? Thank you.
Is there a second to my motion to adopt item 7 forthwith? Seconded by Commissioner Coloza. Without objection, item 7 is adopted and sent forthwith. Item number 8 in Council Districts 4, 5, and 11, specifications submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids for the street lighting conduit only project Unit 7 high voltage conversion fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of $2,505,937. Bid receipt date is July 31st, 2019. Mr. Sachs.
Thank you again, Arnold Sachs, for the record. This should be quick. So just to go back to number 7, it was Council Districts 2 and 5, excuse me, and this one, number 8, is 4, 5, and 11. So doing the math, Council District 5 gets $650 million, $1,650,000 from number 7, and about $800,000, $830,000 from number 8. So why are they getting so much money for the conduit project in Council District number 5 when 4 and 11 are getting what, 800,000 each, 850,000 each? And just curious to find out about how the numbers get thrown around again. And again, is this DWP? Is this Department of Public Street Services? Or is this even, like I said, Southern California Edison? I know they have a franchise with the city.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Dr. Campos, let's go to item number 2. Item number 2 in Council District 3, contract award, Los Angeles River Headwater Bikeway, Owens Mouth Avenue to Mason Avenue. Recommending the board, number 1, declare Reyes Construction, Inc. first low bidder to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Reyes a contract for this project for $5,717,891, and 2, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. Mr. Sachs.
Ms. Vice President, if I could, on item number 8, there was no motion set to approve the items forthwith. If you'd like, we can continue with item 2 and then come back to 8.
Let's put a pause on item number 2.
Or we can put a pause on 2.
We'll put a pause on 2. We'll come back to 2, and I'll move item number 8. My apologies. Is there a second to my motion to send item number 8 forthwith? Seconded by Commissioner Coloza. Thank you. I will send that forthwith without objection.
Great.
Apologies. Item number
Great,
2
thank you.
now. We will return to Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you again for the record, Arnold Sachs. And again, I guess it's the budget increase for pretty much the same people who are doing the work in number 1, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh no, this is item, emergency sewer repair. So my question is, they mentioned 10,000 feet, that's like 2 miles, almost 2 miles of sewer line there. And they also mentioned the changing in the street structure for the lane closures and all this other stuff. But when they did the bike lanes, they didn't have any hearings. I don't know if the bike lanes were heard by the California Coastal Commission. The bike lanes were less traffic. Nobody talked to the public about it. Nobody was allowed to even have input on the bike lanes, the mayor's project. And so 2 lanes, 4 lanes to 3 lanes is not as big a deal as 4 lanes to 2 lanes. That was the real problem with the bike lane project. And just to point out the inconsistencies of how the city acts when they need something done. And again, the other part of this is, once the new sewer line comes in, why would once the new sewer line is in operation, the old sewer line won't be needed anymore. So why would you reuse the old sewer line? And it's been operating for 59, 60 years. Is this a normal sequence? I remember reading something about the DWP setting aside money for water mains that they change every 300 years. So the city is like 180 years old, so they've got another 120 years to go before they change those water mains. Where will you be in 120 years? I won't be in the city of Los Angeles. I hope not. So anyway, is this scheduled maintenance on a regular basis? And there's other sewer lines throughout the city?
2 minutes.
Are they also scheduled?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. I apologize, this is not item number 2, but item number 3. And I believe we have Abbas Vajar here representing sanitation for number 3. Apologies. I know, that's why I corrected. Okay, sir, go on ahead.
Would I be able?
You're going to be able to speak on number 2, sir, yes.
No, ma'am. I wanted to speak on item number 3 also. That was the problem.
Will you be able to speak on item number 3? When you speak on item number 2, we'll make a special allowance for that, for my mistake. Okay? You'll get your time, sir. Thank you. Please.
Good morning, Board. My name is Abbas Vajar. I'm with the Department of Transportation, the Active Transportation Division. Before you is the item for awarding the project for bike path, the construction of the LA River headwaters bike path in San Fernando Valley. We are requesting that you award the project to Reyes Construction, the lowest responsible bidder. This project is 1.25 miles bike path along the LA River in the West Valley, where it connects to the existing pre-constructed bike path, approximately about another 1.25 miles of existing bike path, which was built by Bureau of Engineering. Totally, we are going to have about 2.5 miles of bike path, where this segment provides a major transportation for all the bicyclists and as well as the pedestrians for the neighborhood and the community. And with that being said, we would request that you award the project to Reyes, the lowest responsive.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you, Vice President. Question, what is the expected time of completion, start, end, all of that?
The start of the project is expected to be before the end of June 30th of this year, and approximately about 2 years the construction, with another 6 months to do the final reporting.
So we're looking at 2021?
2021 is expected.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Is there a second to my motion to adopt item number, let's get this correct, 3?
It is item number 3. However, we do have a speaker card on
We
item
do have a
number 3.
speaker card,
so if you can-
apologies. Mr. Sachs?
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs, for the record, Arnold Sachs. This is decent. 1, Reyes Construction. I wonder who that belongs to. I wonder who is associated with Reyes Construction. That wouldn't be Ed Reyes, ex-city council member. And because they're going to start before the end of June, that means funding will come out of this fiscal year, was it 19 1920, and then 2021, 21, 22. It's all about the funding. And then number 3, essentially the river. I don't know of any other river in the state, in the country that's concreted over. When you concrete a river, you can't replenish the aquifer. Simple mentality. Concrete on the streets allows water to run off. You want to replenish the aquifer in the city of Los Angeles and in the county of Los Angeles so that you don't have to get so much water from other areas. Once you replenish the water aquifer in the city of Los Angeles, voila, you have water to use. You have water for your wells. You have wells in your yards. You have water. You don't have to pay for more water. Once you let the water run out to the ocean, that water is not going into the aquifer. Now, it may interfere with some transportation projects, but that's a horse of a different color. You need to take the concrete out of the river and let the river area, the watershed, get replenished. Very simple math. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Davis.
I wanted to find out about the funding for this project. Is this project federally and state funded?
It is a federally funded project. It's part of the Active Transportation Cycle 1, the ATP Cycle 1.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Is there a second to my motion to adopt item number 3 forthwith? Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Seconds. Any objections? Without objections, we will adopt item number 3 forthwith. Item number 2, the real item number 2, budget increase and revised construction orders, Vito Artukovic and Sons, Inc., recommending the board authorize a revised construction budget of a not-to-exceed amount of $25,500,000 for the emergency sewer repair North Outfall Sewer Unit 12, that's Avenue 19 and Humboldt Street project, and authorize the city engineer to issue revised construction orders for this project to Artukovic. Mr. Sachs. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Mr. Tolles.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Tolles. I'm with the Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater, Conveyance, Construction Division. To clarify, this is a different project than the one I presented earlier. This report is actually a follow-up to a board report that was approved on February 1st of 2019 for the emergency sewer repair of the North Outfall Sewer Unit 12 between Avenue 19 and Humboldt Street. The report, original report, authorized a starting construction budget of $9 million to install and operate a 40 MGD million gallons per day bypass of the NOS. If you look at figure 3 on page 2 of the report, you're going to see the status of that bypass approximately a month ago. I've handed out some photos to help you understand the magnitude of the installation and the current state that it's in today. This is essentially a fully functioning pump station that would normally take years to design and construct, being done on the fly within months. This is truly a complex and large construction operation. The report before you is requesting a revised budget authorization of $25.5 million, which is an additional $16 million to now complete the rehabilitation scope. The budget includes $1.9 million in contingency. On November 5th of 2018, BOE was requested by the Bureau of Sanitation to initiate the emergency sewer repair procedures to stabilize a void section of the 48-inch NOS located in Council District 1. This was near the intersection of the 5 freeway, the 110 freeway. It was underneath active railroad tracks adjacent to the LA River, as well as high voltage power lines. If you look at figure 1, you'll see an aerial view of the project alignment. So we followed the ESR procedures, and Artukovic was the next available contractor on the rotating list. The initial investigation included potholing and trying to find a location, appropriate location for this bypass before the sinkhole continued to develop. So if you could imagine a pipe with sewage flowing through it, and throughout the day, the amount of sewage fluctuates as the usage changes throughout the day. And so when we had a high flow situation, the pipe was being surcharged, which means it's being pressurized. And because there was a void at the top of the pipe, it was pushing the sewage into the surrounding soil, and as later on in the day the flows receded, it would then bring the soil back into the sewer line and flush it down the system. So if you can imagine this cycle happening daily, you're now eating away the soil and creating this void underground. So the source of the problem, the way to deal with it was this bypass installation. And so we have that installed now and at least have the situation under control, and we're now trying to do the rehabilitation. So the scope of the rehabilitation is 150 feet of 48-inch circular concrete pipe. There's also 1,300 feet of 54-inch Burge-McDonald semi-elliptical concrete sewer pipe, as well as 730 feet of pipe that's being transferred from an adjacent capital improvement project to this project. And the reason for that is because in order to do this work, we would in the future have to install a bypass again. So rather than do it later in the future, we might as well do it now while we have this bypass operating. So that scope is being moved over to this project. Figure 1 on page 2 of the report again shows the complete alignment, and you'll see two colors there. You'll see a blue color, which represents slip lining rehabilitation, and then you'll see the red section, which represents about 730 feet, which is a cured in place liner. So there's two different methods of rehab that we're using. The project was competitively bid to the top 5 emergency contractors, and we received bids on March 21st of 2019. The bid results are listed on page 3 of the report. Artukovich was the lowest responsive bidder with a cost proposal of approximately $12.3 million. And so if you also look at page 4 of the board report, you could see a breakdown of the major budget items associated with this project. These are budgetary items. The actual cost is just kind of being incurred as we go. So these are estimated costs at this point. There's no impact to the general fund, as the project is funded through the Sewer Capital Fund and the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have regarding the request or the project.
Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Vice President. Mr. Toles, can you tell us, if we don't do this and address this now, what would technically happen?
Well, if we don't address this void, as I mentioned, there's railroad tracks, there's metro passenger rail that crosses the sewer line right at this void location, as well as high voltage DWP tower. So if this void went all the way to the surface, the train could potentially fall into this, hit a power pole or this high voltage power station, as well as spill all the sewage into the LA River. So it's a very catastrophic scenario if this thing fails. That's the worst case, obviously, scenario.
Right. I wanted to hear that because it's a really large amount that we're investing into this, but I wanted to hear the urgency and the seriousness of this issue for, so for the public to hear that. Sure, that's what we needed to do. So thank you for that explanation. And by the way, you did a really good job explaining the scope and how this would happen in terms that the public can all understand. So thank you, Mr. Toles.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Davis.
So the funding for this project is local funds. I guess you said Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund, and then some small portion, $1 million from Sewer Capital Fund. To that end, in terms of the workforce for this project, are we also extending an opportunity to implement a project labor agreement on this project as well?
Well, this emergency contract, when it was originally initiated, was excluded from the business inclusion programs, mainly because of the nature of these projects. They're emergency projects. It's we need it right now, and the outreach and things that are required in order to comply with these things would hinder the contractor's ability to respond. So that was waived for the contract, for the emergency contract, those requirements. We do competitively bid, though, this work, especially when we're dealing with these high dollar amounts. We make sure that we get competitive bid from different contractors. We don't just go to the next contractor on the list. Yeah.
In terms of the time of the project, what is the anticipated time of completion for the project? Where are we with that?
Right now, the bypass pit is completely installed, and we're doing testing, and we should be ready to operate it before the end of the month. Then We've already ordered the pipe for the slip lining. Right now, I think we're scheduled to finish sometime in November. But the deteriorating sinkhole situation is addressed at this point with a bypass that we have installed. So the surcharging scenario that I was explaining earlier, that is no longer happening.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis, and thank you, Mr. Tolles. Colleagues, any other questions? Hearing none, is there a second to my motion to adopt item number 2 forthwith? It's seconded by Commissioners Caloza, Davis, and Garcia. Without objection, that item will be adopted and sent forthwith. Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item number 4. In Council District 5, Street Closure Extension, West Side Purple Line Extension Project, Section 2, closure of Constellation Boulevard between Century Park East and Avenue of the Stars. Recommending the board find that the Board of Public Works has reviewed and considered the information in the project draft Environmental Impact Statement, EIS, Environmental Impact Report, EIR, and that the project final EIS, EIR. 2, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act, known as CEQA Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record that since certification of the EIS-EIR, there have been no changes with respect to the circumstances under which the temporary street closure being undertaken would require a subsequent EIR or supplemental EIR. 3, adopt the March 2012 Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, MMRP, Appendix 1 of the final EIS-EIR, prepared by Metro as it pertains to construction impacts. 4, find under CEQA Guidelines Section 15091 that changes have been incorporated into the project which substantially lessen the significant environmental effects as identified in the final EIS-EIR. Further find that there is no feasible alternative or additional feasible mitigation measures within the board's powers that would substantially lessen any significant effect the project would have on the environment. 5, adopt the attached CEQA findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations as it pertains to the temporary street closure and find that the economic, social, technological, and other benefits of the project outweigh its significant and unavoidable impacts. Number 6, adopt West Side Purple Line Extension, Section 2, Post Notice of Determination, extension of temporary full closure of Constellation Boulevard from 9 months to 15 months, dated April 4th, 2019. 7, specify that Metro Transit Division of the Bureau of Engineering, located at 1149 South Broadway, the board, located at 200 North Spring Street, and other relevant City of Los Angeles departments are custodians of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. 8, approve an exemption from the 2019 holiday season street closure restrictions. And 9, approve the request to extend the temporary closure of Constellation Boulevard between Century Park East and Avenue of the Stars for 6 months, starting Saturday, June 22nd, 2019, and ending Sunday, December 22nd, 2019, subject to the conditions identified within this report. Mr. Sachs.
Thank you again. Arnold Sachs for the record, and for the record, Arnold Sachs. Question, who's the lead agency for the CEQA report on this project? Is it Metro? Is it the city? Is it the county? There is no construction authority here, so it's got to be one of the three. It doesn't mention it in your item. Time of closure. Are you going to allow for an emergency extension of the time of operation? And number 6 says to close from 9 months to 15 months, adding 6 months. Is that dated 9/14? Because number 9 says you're closing it from June 22nd to December 22nd. That would be 6 months. So April, May, June, those first 3 months, was the street closed, or was that the dated of the report? Because if it's just the date of the report and not the street closure, then you actually have 9 more months to add to that, which would make it like September of 2020. just to let the public know. And then, are there any sewer enhancements? And there's an item in here that Metro Transit Division of the Bureau of Engineering. You'd think that if Metro Engineering is in the Bureau of Engineering, or Metro Transit is in the Bureau of Engineering, they'd have known about that idea with the gold line, where the gold line was running, and maybe said, well, you know, we need to do something about this sewage that's underground. Otherwise, it'll be like sewage above ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Tran.
Good morning. My name is Curtis Tran. I'm from Bureau Engineer, Metro Transit Division. The West Side Purple Line Tangent Project, it divides into 3 sections. We are here today to discuss the section number 2, street closure of the Purple Line extension. The section 2 will be scheduled to be open in the fall of 2025. The Purple Line Section 2 extends the subway from Wilshire La Cienega Station within the city of Beverly Hills, going west about 2.5 miles along Wilshire Boulevard, ending in the city of Los Angeles, near the intersection of Century Park West and Constellation Boulevard. On May 4th of 2018, the board approved for 9-month temporary street closure on Constellation Boulevard between Century Park East and the Avenue of Star for May 7, 2018 to January 31st, 2019. On December 14, 2018, the board approved a revision from January 31 to January 31, 2019 to June 21, 2019, because of implementation of previous approved street closure was delayed due to unforeseen utility conflict. Today, Metro and its contractor, Tuba Perini Corporation and ONG Industrial, also known as TPOG, are requesting an additional 6-month closure extension of the existing street closure to continue decking, utility support, and excavation of the tunnel boring machine within the launch box. The extension was always anticipated, but was not previously brought to the board due to the need for the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, memo that analyzed additional discuss the traffic impact to the longer closure, and it was recently completed. This memo and the analysis discussed on the post-notice of determination extension of the temporary foreclosure of Constellation Boulevard from 9 months to 15 months, and also the CEQA review summary of relevant finding and mitigation measure of Metro street closure requests. Council District 5 has communicated that they are in support of this closure as well as the peak hour exemption for construction. LAPD has issued a noise variant permit for the closure for the installation in the tunnel boring machine from June 21, 2019 to October 21, 2019. Metro has stated that they are committed to provide advance notice mitigation for construction impact and also provide advanced construction activity notification and so on with major stakeholder. And Miss Casey Suda from Metro will do a presentation, a community outreach effort for you in a little bit. We have representatives from Metro, from the contractor TPOG, LADOT in the audience to answer your question if you have any. Once you are satisfied, we would recommend you approve this extension of the street closure with the condition listed on page 2 of the board report. Thank you.
Colleagues, any questions? Hearing none, is there a second to my motion to adopt item number 4, correct?
You could make a motion, however, I believe someone from Metro
Yeah,
is here
Ms.
to do a
Casey
short
Suda,
presentation.
she would like to do a presentation
my
if
apologies.
this board
on the
would like to.
community outreach.
My apologies.
Good morning, board. Thank you for having me. I'll do this quickly. We started our outreach with the community in 2017 about this closure. We knew we were approved for 9 months, but we told the community at that time that we would be asking for a 15-month closure. We were just going to finish up some environmental work. So the entire community, the building managers of this area were aware of this extension. We have full support from the community. We've been doing regular meetings with them, answering all their questions, providing mitigation measures during this closure, and have full support of the community on this issue.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Vice President. Do you expect after the 6 months, either one, do you expect for another ask of street closure after this 6-month period?
I know that it would be beneficial to the project to do so. We have not gone out with that to the community. So potentially, but it has not been vetted, so it would be a longer process.
Okay. And we'll try to do the best possible to have less impact in the community, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Davis.
And you've been working obviously with Council District 5 and that outreach to the community as well.
Absolutely. They're included in all of our meetings.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Any other further questions? Hearing none, is there a second to my motion to adopt item 4 forthwith? Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Without objection, item 4 is adopted and sent forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Campos, does this clear the desk of voting items?
Yes, it does.
Okay, let's go to item number 9. Status of grant-funded programs and projects from all bureaus, an oral report. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you again. For the record, Arnold Sachs, and in this particular case, the last shall be first. Status of grant-funded programs. So I was wondering, because I didn't get a chance to actually speak on item number 6, in any of these other projects, do they have grants attached to them? There was a story a long time ago in the news about Santa Monica and the airport they had there, that they had a grant, and the grant funding is for 20 years. Imagine that, 20-year grant funding. So it's really important when you read stories to read the story and then read the story again and then file away some of those details and say, hey, how does that affect this project over here? And how does that affect that project over here? Now this project, A and B, refers to Skid Row. And Skid Row, I think, homelessness has been pretty much eliminated from Skid Row to a certain degree. It's the area east, further east, where people have been forced to move. That's not part of Skid Row that needs to be cleaned up. Point number 1. Point number 2, this refers to the ozone, clean air. Why is that important? CEQA, before demolition, not after demolition. Before demolition, all the crap that you has dumped on the city from the fires, from the jets, from whatever, some of that stuff actually gets sucked into the structure. You have asbestos inside. You have materials that were banned. When they don't do CEQA before demolition, all that stuff may not get to the ozone for 10 years, but it's in this atmosphere that you're breathing. Not good for your health. I tell you, not good for your health.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Can we please
Thank
have the
you.
Bureau of Street Services representative?
Sorry, have a good weekend. I apologize again.
Thank you, sir. You as well. Bureau Streets LA representative.
I believe it's Mr. Kevin Min.
Right. Apologies. Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau representatives. My name is Kevin Min. I'm with the Bureau of Street Services Engineering Services Division. I'm reporting on our status of our grants for our projects. You should have a handout in front of you which represents a summary of all the grants that our Bureau currently has. Out of this portfolio, we have about $104 million over 45 projects, of which 21 are in construction, 17 are in design, and 5 are going through some form of Caltrans approval at this point. Not shown on the list are a couple new grant awards that we've recently been awarded by the state. One is a $24.8 million grant through the state's active transportation program. This is to install separated cycle tracks along about 2 miles of Broadway Avenue in Council District 8. Other improvements include sidewalk repair, new curb ramps, new trees, pedestrian lighting, some pedestrian safety, crossing amenities, and other beautification enhancements for that district. This is the single largest grant award that was awarded to the city by the state under this program. Also represents the largest project in which our bureau will be implementing through the active transportation program. We also recently received a $1 million grant through the state's Highway Safety Improvement Program for upgrades of obsolete guardrail throughout the city. We'll be working very closely with council offices over the next year or two to identify those locations and upgrade the guardrails throughout the city for that $1 million. We receive a significant amount of money through the Metro Coffer projects. Currently, there are 22 projects on this list that are funded through Metro, worth approximately $42 million. Our second largest part of grant funds is the Active Transportation Program, which is currently 7 projects worth $44 million, and that's including the $24.8 million project I just mentioned. The remainder of our projects are funded through the federal and state Safe Routes to School programs, Highway Safety Improvement Program, Community Development Block Grants, federal earmarks, and other miscellaneous projects through Measure R, Measure M. Upcoming, we'll be applying for some new grants in the future. Namely, we'll be applying for the state's Green Infrastructure Grant Program to install cisterns within the public right-of-way, which is kind of a new thing for us. It's not something that we've typically applied for. And the idea is that these cisterns would irrigate nearby landscaping and trees, and also provide some sort of a first stage of filtration of the water runoff through the first flush of a storm. We are anticipating cycle 5 of the active transportation program in this coming spring. The state's announcing about $440 million available statewide. And we'll be working very closely with council offices over the next few months to develop new projects, come up with the plans, develop the necessary documentation for those grant applications. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Great, thanks.
Good morning, Shirley Lau with the Bureau of Engineering Bridge Improvement Division. I have a short presentation for you today, and I'll start off with slide number 2 here, which indicates the types of grants that we usually utilize for city bridge projects. As you can see, we have the Federal Highway Bridge Program. We have state funds that come from Caltrans. They're called State Proposition 1B. We also have Metro funds and coming from 2 sources, which are Prop C 25 and 710 mitigation funds. We also have the Active Transportation Program that comes from Caltrans on one of our projects. So for the Federal Highway Bridge Program, that predominantly is the funding source that we use on our bridges. And as I go through the projects, I have indicated which projects utilize what types of funding. So on the next slide, this is the first of 2 slides. I have summarized the design projects that are utilizing grant funds. Both slides 2 and 3 are, they add up to $124 million in total budget. So just to clarify, total budget includes design, environmental, right-of-way, and construction phases. And so next to it, I have a column under which I indicate what kind of grant funds that we received. Typically, some of these grants, they require a local match, and so we also contribute some local funds to these projects. And I've also indicated the current status of each of these projects. So there's 5 under design, which total $124 million. So in the next slide here, starting with slide 5, I have listed, this is the first of 2 slides of construction projects. We have a total of 7 projects under construction, and that totals $109 million. And I'm going to go through each of these construction projects briefly. So the first project is First Street over Glendale Boulevard. This was awarded to the contractor Steve Radios Incorporated. The contract award amount is $11.8 million. We're roughly about 65% done with the project. We've completed a lot of the foundation work, actually most of the underground work, and now we're doing the bridge deck widening. We're also replacing the rail because the rail is historic, so we actually take it down piece by piece, and we have a historian on site, and what they do is what can be salvaged, they'll salvage it, but then we also have replicated rails. We're anticipating this work to be done next September in 2020, and this project is in Council Districts 1 and 13. The next project is a pedestrian bridge. It's called the Glendale Hyperion Phase 1. This project, we had to construct this pedestrian bridge as a mitigation measure for the larger Glendale Boulevard complex of bridge projects, which we will be sending out to construction probably in a year. And so this is awarded to Ray's Construction. It's roughly $3.7 million. We're about 15% complete. We've actually demoed 2 of the piers and rebuilt it, and we've actually completed some of the abutment work as well, and that's ongoing. We anticipate this to be done by April 2020, and this is in Council District 13. This is North Atwater Bridge, this is slide 9. We are roughly 45% complete. Actually, today's a very exciting day. I don't know if you can see that center mast. It kind of looks, it's sticking up. That was delivered today, and we're actually putting it up today and doing some welding, and it came in from Utah. This project is about, the award amount was $14.3 million. We completed the center pier and both abutments, and so now we're trying to erect the bridge itself this summer. We are going to have the deck, the steel for the deck, and the rest of the cables coming in throughout the next month or two, so it's kind of an exciting time for our division. We anticipate completion by the end of this year, and this project is in both Council Districts 4 and 13. North Spring Street Bridge, this is phase 2 of the North Spring Street Bridge project. We completed the bridge project last year. This one is basically at when the bridge comes going into downtown, coming south into downtown, we have this building that you see, which is no longer there. We demolished that. We are creating actually a roadway that will lead into the state park, and that was the purpose of this portion of the project. It's a $1.9 million contract award. We're about halfway complete, and we're doing all the new street work, and we anticipate finishing that hopefully before April 2020, and this is in CD1. So this one is 95% complete. We just have a little bit of lighting and striping work. This is Riverside Drive Bridge over Zoo Drive. It's roughly $12.1 million contract award. We're trying to complete it next month. It's in CD4. And one of the very interesting components of this project is it actually, we actually did an underpass. As we retrofitted the bridge, we did a bike underpass. So typically the feds don't pay for it, but we did ask them to pay for this. And so this makes a connection for the LA River bike path that we're very excited to have it continue. Next, we have the Soto Street Bridge over Valley Boulevard. This is bridge widening project. We're over actually a UP rail and actually over Valley Boulevard. We awarded this last year, $11.9 million. So far, we're trying to demo the rail bridge. It's an abandoned rail bridge next to the bridge, and then after that, we can do widening work. And so we're anticipating a longer time. We have a lot of roadway work after the bridge is done, so it'll be done in August 2021, and it's in CD14. And lastly, we have the Taylor Yard Bridge project, $18.5 million contract award. We just started work in the LA River. We excavated for the abutments on both sides of the river and also for the center pier. We hope to finish this by March 2021, and this is in Council Districts 1 and 13. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oops, sorry. Colleagues, any questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can we have the additional representative from Bureau of Engineering, please?
Good morning. My name is Ramnik Mangra. I'm with Bureau of Engineering street program. Street program typically has, not typically, but the street program currently have 119 street projects, but today we're going to focus on just grant-funded projects. The grant-funded projects are basically that requires a memorandum of understanding, financial agreement, or letter of agreement. Those are the projects we are focusing on. So next page, page number 2. Again, we are discussing, or I'm showing there different grants utilized for the street programs. We have also active transportation program, CDBG is Community Development Block Grant, and various grants that we get from either federal government or Caltrans or Metro. The reimbursement rate is 65 to 88.53%, depending on the project. Typically, Metro MOU or financial agreements requires 65% reimbursement rate, and the city to match or local match should be around 35%. Okay, move to the next slide, or next page, page number 3. Summary of grants. So currently, street program has ATP projects, 12 of them. Construction cost is $48 million, and grant amount is about 45. So what it means, it has other grant, other funding sources too. So for example, take any construction cost for a project, that's just a construction cost. It does not include design or environmental clearance or bid and award or construction management type of cost. Typically it comes about around 40 to 45%. So if you add to, for example, ATP program, 48 million, that's about $70 million. That's almost like a program by itself. It's a big program. So currently we have various grants, and we have about 36 projects, totaling $177,810. $177,810,000. Let's move to the next slide. So we have so many projects, and I could not focus on every single one of them, so I wanted to give a flavor of what we do in street program. So this is a pre-design, this project, 7th Streetscape project in City 14 is in pre-design phase right now. The segment 1 and 2, segment 1 is Figueroa Street to Olive Street, and segment 2 is Olive Street to San Pedro Street. They are both funded with a about $10 million, and $600,000 is for segment 3 to design. The funding came from B permit fee, CDBG, and SB1, which is State Senate Bill number 1. We expect the completion in end of June 2023. The project progress is about 91% pre-design, so we are almost wrapping up the pre-design or scoping of the project. The partners are, the funding partners are LADOT, HCD, and CD14. This project will provide protected bike lane in each direction, curb ramps and sidewalk as needed, trees and landscaping. Let's move to this next slide, page number 5. I'm going to talk about the design project. This is a design of a Burbank Boulevard widening Lankershim to Cleon project in CD2. Has a $16.4 million budget. Has a STPL, which is a federal money, PROPC, local transportation fund, and DWP funds. We're going to advertise in next year, January 2020. Construction completion end of 23, I would say. Progress is 95% complete. Partners are Metro, Caltrans, LADOT, and CD2. This project will widen 2 traffic lanes to 4 traffic lanes, a bike lane in each direction, curb extension to pedestrian safety, and 16 drivers for groundwater recharging. And the last project I want to talk about is construction of East 2nd Street and St. Louis, City 14. Actually, these are 2 ATV projects under one contract that we awarded. This is Safe Route to School, Sheridan Elementary School and Breed Elementary School. That's project number 1. And second is Safe Route to School, Little Tokyo Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project. Contractor is Sully Miller. Contract amount was $8,594,000. Fund was ATP, which is federally funded. Construction completion is December 2019, so the end of this year. Progress about 45% complete. Partners Caltrans, DOT, BSL, and Caltrans. So this project is, the one I'm showing is on the left-hand side. There's on a local street, we have constructed mini roundabouts. This project has 2 of them. Sidewalk, curb ramps, and curb extension is also part of this project scope, and I'll provide the pedestrians and street lighting, traffic signals, and striping. Are there any questions?
Colleagues, any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is sanitation.
Good morning. My name is Par Profit from LA Sanitation and Environment. As requested by the board, Sanitation has prepared a comprehensive grants report for the period covering December 1st, 2018 through May 31st, 2019. The report, which includes attachments A through F, are available for your reference. Currently, LA San manages a grant portfolio in the amount of $27.3 million, representing 31 executed grant agreements as shown in Attachment 1. The Attachment 1 is the semi-annual active grant summary. The details of those grants are in Attachment B. This amount, the $27.3 million, represents 2 grants totaling $3.6 million for clean water programs, 4 grants totaling $3.4 million for environmental programs, 16 grants totaling $8.8 million for the solid resources program, and 9 grants totaling $11.5 million for the watershed protection program, which includes some pro projects as well. In Attachment C, LA San was awarded 3 grants for a total of $2.99 million during this reporting period. That includes 2 Cal Recycle grants for a solid resources program and 1 Cal Fire grant for a tree planting project. LA San was denied 1 grant totaling $300,000 for that same tree planting project during this reporting period, as shown in Attachment D. LA San is currently waiting on funding decisions for 13 grant applications, which are totaling $27.7 million, as shown in Attachment E. And last of all, there are 3 pending loan applications in the amount of $729.4 million, as shown in Attachment F. These 3 applications are for the DC Tillman Advanced Water Purification Facility project, which includes design and construction of a 35 million gallons per day water reclamation plant and its related components. This project will replenish groundwater basin and generate more purified water for Los Angeles. That concludes my summary of the LA San Semi-Annual Grants Report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but definitely not least, street lighting.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Ms. Cabello, Mr. Davis, Ms. Garcia, Ms. Galoza. My name is Ansar Mustafa with the Bureau of Street Lighting. I was here previously to go over some of the community development block grants that we have in street lighting, as well as some of the grant-funded programs. Coming back to just report on what we have and what we've done so far. I know we're short on time, so I'm just going to go ahead and go over to page number 6, if you don't mind. And we're going to go to the proposed projects that were awarded in fiscal 18-19. We submitted for 3 projects. A total of about $2.3 million. Of those projects, 2 were fully funded. 1 was funded for only $400 of the 12 of the $1.2 million that was requested. That was in fiscal year 18-19 for plan year number 44. I came and gave a report back in November, December, basically going over the process for the CDBG and that we were waiting on approval on 8 projects. They did come back and give us a response on what was approved and what not approved, and that's on page number 7. So I just want to quickly go through that with you guys. We put in for 8 projects. The ones that are all in red obviously were denied, and the ones that are in green were approved. So for North Hollywood Area 1, we requested $720,000 through CDBG. It was denied, for this year at least. North Hollywood Area 2, denied. North Hollywood Area 3, approved for $640,000. Van Nuys area lighting, denied for $700,000. Armanita Avenue street lighting was denied for $180,000. The next one, Elysian Valley Phase 7. Last year, we put in for 1.2 million. They only approved 400,000, and we went to this year and we forwarded it, and they actually approved us for an additional 740,000. So when the project's not approved in a prior PEP year, we'll do it in the following year. We'll go back and review the project, review the area, see if there's something that can be done. And most times, if the funding is available, we'll get it in the following PEP year. We requested 5.42 million. We were awarded 3.14 million, about 60% this year, and we were awarded about 65% last year. When the projects are not awarded in CDBG, it has nothing to do with the project not being meeting the requirements. It's just that there are other projects within that council district that take priority with other divisions, etc. So that's the basic on that one. I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward through some of this stuff. Page number 8 is just a couple of pictures of some of the lights that we use, the post, Cobra Head, Renaissance. Page number 9 through 16 are just aerial shots, maps showing the council district, the amount of units, whether or not it was denied or approved. Those are pages 9 through 16. Fast forwarding to page number 17. The CDBG are projects that Bureau of Street Lighting are the lead agency on. On page 17, we're also assisting on other projects throughout the city. Right now, we have 51 projects that we're assisting on. That may be Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Street Services, or Bureau of Sanitation. When I came in December, I think we were at about 35 million in terms of the amount working on those grant-funded projects. And we had 54 projects, 35 million. Currently, we're at 51 projects, about 27.5 million. Some projects were completed, some come in, etc. If you go down the list, go to, for example, number 1. It says Pasadena Avenue pedestrian connections. So that's the name of the project. In the brackets, it says design, so it's in the design phase. This would be on page 17 at the very top, number 1. So the project would be Pasadena Avenue. In the bracket, it would be in the design phase. And then that letter B, if you go to page number 19, it's just basically letters A through K shows what type of pole is being used on that project throughout the city. So if someone comes and asks you, do you know what they're doing on Western Avenue, you can just pull this up real quick, go, it's in design, and we're going to be throwing in some pre-edge mounts. Simple as that. Any questions? That was pretty much my presentation. I'm trying to make it as quick as possible.
Colleagues, any questions? Looks like there's none. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
Thank you all to the Bureau representatives that attended today. Dr. Campos, does this clear the desk?
Yes, it does.
And we are adjourned. Have a good weekend.